Good morning. It is another wonderful day here at Castle Hill Country Day School, and I got something fun I want to share with you. But first, I need to let you know that I love trash, anything dirty or dusty or dingy, anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Yes, I love trash. Well, maybe not the rusty, rotten stuff, but I certainly do like playing with things that people have thrown away or headed for the landfill or maybe even recycling. And I want to share with you a couple of things that I've made with some recycling. And the first, I made myself a little trowel, okay? Probably won't mix cement, but it'll certainly do fine in sand and soft dirt. The other thing I made from an old soda bottle, 2-liter soda bottle, are some safety goggles. I just cut the side of the bottle out, kind of played around with it with some scissors till I got it right. A couple of hole punches, some rubber bands, and a paper clip. And there I have my safety goggles. But what I want to show you today is how to make a very small solar oven. Now, in 1 minute, the amount of sun that is reaching the Earth's surface is enough to power everything. All the power plants, cars, games, televisions, whatever, for 1 full year. That's 1 minute of sunshine, 1 full year of powering everything. The problem is it'd be really hard to try to capture all that energy, and even more so, how do you store it? That is a question that you all are going to help us answer in about 15 years when you're working on your master's or your PhDs. But for now, I just want to do a very simple solar oven. And what you need is just one of these kind of pans with these containers. This came from Sauce. If you want to get one that's a little bigger, that's fine. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut the top of this off. And to do that, I need to make a little small hole. So I'm going to hold it or put it on my table so that this lid is facing up. And then I'm going to take some scissors. Now you might want to make sure you get some really sharp scissors before you begin. Make sure your mom or dad, they have, you got the okay, and maybe they'd want to help with some of this cutting part. But I'm just going to take one of my parts of my scissors, and I'm just going to push it in to the plastic. Easier said than done. Come over on this side. And so now, once I have my little hole, I can begin cutting. And I'm going to cut just that middle part out. It's just this part right here. And I'm done with this. Okay, this is going to be where the sun is going to come through our little solar oven. But as it is right here, this will not be very effective. It might melt something, it will get a little warmer in there, but we can make it better. Okay, so we want to think about the ways that solar energy is transferred from the sun, and then once energy is on the earth, how it moves from one place to another. The energy coming from the sun is called radiation, and these are light waves that can be at different frequencies, and we have the light that we can see. There are also radio waves which transmit radio calls between cell towers. There are X-rays, which is another type of a movement of energy. So we've got radiation. And the other thing, when we want to control in this case, is going to be convection. Convection is the movement of heat energy from one place to another by the wind. And what we need to do is control convection in our little solar oven, because if we didn't have something to protect the top of it, as the wind blows across it, the radiation that is being collected in our solar oven is going to get blown away. So we're going to have to control that. And then the third thing we're going to do to try and enhance our solar oven is the use of conduction. Now, conduction is a transfer of heat energy from one place to another through physical contact. It's kind of like when I hold my cup of tea here, it feels hot on my hand. All right, that's because the heat energy from my tea is going into my fingers and it feels hot. But by putting this black piece of cardboard down, we can capture the heat that comes from the sun. It's going to heat up this black board, and then the heat energy will be transferred into our solar oven. All right, so first thing we need to do is figure out a way that we can collect as much solar energy as possible in here. And the way I'm going to do that is with tin foil. Some tin foil here. I'm going to pull out a fair bit. We're going to cover this whole thing, but we also want to push the tin foil down so that it's on all the sides and the bottom of my container. You see, one side of the tin foil is shiny, the other side is less shiny. All right, we want to have the shiny side up. And I'm just going to slowly push it in there. Now, take your time with this. You don't want any tear. We want to make sure we cover up all the edges of, okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and just trim off the excess tin foil, which is around the sides. Okay, so there I have my tin foil. I got a little bit of black part of the container exposed right here. That's okay. Now, I want you to keep in mind, this is not going to be able to boil water. It's not going to cook a hot dog. At best, we could probably get the temperature up to maybe 150, 160, something like that. It can definitely melt chocolate. But I want you to, the principles of building this can be then applied to building something else. After you build this first one, you'll have a better idea of what you can do to, use something bigger, modify it. But this is just a start in understanding the concepts about radiation, convection, and conduction. Okay, so now that I've got my solar collector finished, all right, I need to cover this top part. I'm going to show you two different ways to do that. One is just to take a Ziploc bag, and we'll cut the top off. Cut the top off, and then I'm going to cut around all the edges. Okay, I've got that, and then I'm going to cut a little bit above the middle spot just to make sure I have enough that will hang over the edges of my lid. Make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, now I've got it right like that. I need to figure out a way to attach it to the top of my lid. And I'm going to do that using either double-sided tape, but you might say, Mr. Roberts, I don't have any double-sided tape at home. I don't want to have to go out and buy it, but that's okay. I'll show you a little trick. Okay, so if you don't have any double-sided tape at home, all you need to do is take 6 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and I'm going to roll it on top. Roll it over like a little tube, and I know you guys have all done this at school before. I'm going to put it on the 4 corners of my top. All right, I just want to get my plastic in place so that I can then secure all the edges so that we can get a really good seal, and that when our solar radiation goes into our oven, it's going to stay there and not get sucked away by the wind. Convection. Okay, after I got my 4 corners done, I'm going to just take my plastic and lay it down, and I'm going to take the side with the tape on it and I'm going to press it down. Okay, that makes a nice, now we're not done by any means because we've still got, wind's going to get in through here. So let's go ahead and trim I got my lid cut out. So now I can take my tape and tape down the sides. Just like that. I want to try to get, geez, it's hard. Yeah, right along the edges like that. This one I will do. And rather than do one side at once, I'm going to go back and forth so that I can pull, use the tape to pull the plastic across to get it nice and flat. Alright, so I'm going to do all that and till it's nice and every side is secure. The other way you can do it is to use cellophane wrap. And with this method, I'm going to do the same thing as before, and I'm going to trace around it. Kind of just a very, oh, let's go on the inside. Remember that when I cut, I'm going to leave an extra centimeter or two on either side. Now, cutting cellophane is like one of the most challenging things in the world. So here's a way that you can do it to make it a little easier. I'm put some books down here. It's even easier if you have somebody push down on the books so that they don't move. And that's going to hold down the whole side of the cellophane so that when I cut, it doesn't wiggle away from me. Now I'm going to cut around the edges a little farther out than necessary. Okay, my cellophane is moving, so I'm going to move my books. Okay, so that's going to keep it in place while I do my cutting. As scientists, we are always problem solving. And so there we go. I got my cutout, and I have my cellophane. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it on top. This is not as strong, but the reason I'm doing two is I want to do an experiment. I want to see which one of these will get hotter. All right, and my thinking is that while the solar radiation might be able to go through the cellophane easier, it's also lighter than the plastic. So I'll bet that some of that radiation is also going to escape out of that a little more easily than it will this. But we'll find out. Okay, so I'm going to tape this all in place, and then we're going to go outside and see how all of this works. But before that, I'm going to prepare what I'm going to be cooking. And in this case, I've got chocolate chip or a graham cracker. I've got some chocolate. I'll get a couple of squares of chocolate, put it right there. And then I'm going to put on a few marshmallows. And we'll see if these melt. I'm going to give them a little bit of a head start, and I'm going to crush them up. Okay, we're going to apply some energy here, flatten them out, try to get that physical breakdown going. Okay, we're ready to go outside. All right, I'm putting the final touches on my two little solar ovens, and I wanted to share with you something I realized that would make life a lot easier for you. When I did the cellophane, rather than lay the cellophane on top and try to put the tape around it, which when I started I found it was almost impossible, I laid the cellophane down first, and then I put my lid on it, and then I taped on the underside of it, right around the edges, and that made life a whole lot easier. If I were to do this one again, I would do that Same thing, I actually put a couple of reinforcements on the underside. So I hope that just makes life a little easier. Okay, now, the final touch here is I'm going to put on the lid, but then to keep it in place, I'm just going to use some of these little clips. And that is going to hold my lid in place. All right, now let's go outside. Okay, I've got my setup here and ready to put my ovens in place. Now, a couple of things, I added some cardboard, old science fair project, to further reduce the loss of heat through convection. And then I got my board, and I also want to tilt this up towards the sun, so it's facing, so it's right tilted there. And I'm just going to put some little gravel in the back here. Tilt that up, so I'm happy with that. Now my temperature reading. Okay, I've had these out for about, say, a minute now. I got a 94. This is my cellophane, and this one I'm reading actually 97. So let's come back in about 15 minutes and see what it looks like. Okay, everybody, it's been about 20 minutes and it hasn't gotten any colder, but I have Jerry out here helping me, and so I wanted to put my vest on so he'd have more pockets and things to crawl into. So 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to take a reading of the temperature, and that is reading 142. And now on our plastic sheet, that's reading 131. All right, so it's a little about 9 degrees less, and I definitely am seeing, let's take a closer look. All right, I'm definitely seeing some melting there with my chocolate. Oh yeah, it's definitely, whoa. Oh, and as a matter of fact, it is very hot. Whoa. Look at all that sliding right off. Yum. Well, anyways, so there's a really fun way that you can harness the sun's energy to have a little fun and make yourself some more. I also thought a little dab of peanut butter on this would have been really, really good. So I'm going to take a bite. This is definitely worth trying. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've learned a little bit about the sun's energy and radiation, conduction, convection. Now, go and create your own. And please send me some pictures. I want to see what you've done. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.